Welcome Virgo, thank you for joining me for your February Astrology and Horoscope forecast. This is for the Sun or the Ascendant. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I'd be honoured if you did so now. This month begins with a big emphasis on the practicalities of life, but you have a natural talent for this anyway. And I think the move on the 3rd of Mercury, your ruler, into your sector of relating, suggests that that is going to be a really important area for you for much of the month. Not least that Venus, the planet of love and relating, is in this sector already, and also Neptune, the planet of dreams. So for the first week, you certainly have an opportunity to reach out to others in a very successful way. But it is true that on the 8th, Venus moves deeper into a much more passionate part of your situation, the 8th house, the sign of Aries. It also combines with the comet that is the wounded healer of Chiron. If there is something in your situation which hasn't been working well around intimacy, shared resources, a business matter, or even just a very close relationship, certainly at this initial point, around the 8th to about the 10th or 12th, it would be a fine time to try to have a very meaningful conversation. Now, by the 9th, we do have a full moon, which occurs in your 12th solar house. If you're looking at your health and welfare and practical situation, but not taking into account your more emotional or psychological well-being, this is a very fine opportunity to do so. Especially as the full moon is also going to forge a T-square with Uranus. Now Uranus is going to be pushing you for the whole of this year to be that much more adventurous, break out of any straitjackets which have been holding you back. But when it comes to your work, if there is a job that you're doing that feels very safe and comfortable, but actually a bit dull, this full moon could really be pushing you to think about changing. But because the full moon is in your 12th house, any hidden anxieties or self-doubts may need to be looked at and challenged over the following 2 weeks. Also at work, someone may not be quite as much on your side as you might think, but they won't necessarily tell you up front, so just be aware of hidden opposition or opponents. However, on the 17th, we do have that retrograde beginning in the sign of Mercury. Now, this happens 3 times a year generally. Sometimes we can get part of a fourth can begin. But this retrograde in your sector of relating does suggest that you do need to make sure that you are crystal clear in what you're saying. But on the 16th, with Mars making its way into the most passionate and, to be honest, outgoing part of your scope, you have a 6-week opportunity to showcase your talents or just your sense of self in a very successful way. Mars also forges a very positive link to Uranus in the following 6 days. If there is someone that you're strongly attracted to, this is kind of saying, why not take your courage in your hands and go for it? But of course, Mercury in retrograde is saying, well, perhaps things won't go quite as planned. But you know, Mercury retrograde is not a panacea of everything going wrong. It can actually presage an opportunity to solve things. So if you have an opportunity to try to understand where another person comes from, especially if it's different to you, I think that this could be a very enlightening time. Now on the 18th, Saturn, which has been in your sector of joys, of children, of self-expression for the last 2 years, does start to inch away from Jupiter. I think this is something you're going to really welcome. It is going to stay in the sign of Capricorn for some of the rest of this year, but of course does also venture into Aquarius. But I think Jupiter and now Mars being in your 5th house is pushing you to have more self-confidence about what makes you unique and different. Uranus is helping too. So this retrograde to Mercury could see some advice coming in which may challenge how you've been thinking, but it may actually be very good for you, so try not to be hostile if that's the case. Now the Sun's going to move on the 19th into Pisces, but this is going to be very positive. It's going to support the retrograde. It's going to help also with Neptune. It is true that Mercury and the Sun come together in a conjunction as this month draws to a close. So there can be some clarity coming through if you work hard enough at it, invest enough of yourself. However, Venus does clash with both Jupiter and Pluto as the month comes to a close. And it's possible, if you're single in particular, you could be drawn to someone in the latter part of this month who's not necessarily going to be the right person for you. But in terms of sheer passion and sexual attraction, they may seem to be the real deal. And because the Sun also forges a brilliant angle to Mars in the second half of this month, you may decide to be a lot bolder. So it's about being much more conscious of your relationships this month, but also just being aware that Mercury's retrograde isn't all bad, but it may bring something up that does need to be resolved that maybe you're not conscious about in terms of the way you relate to others. Or perhaps it's an opportunity to meet somebody new and solve what has been a gap in your life in terms of camaraderie, friendship, or even a romance. If you'd like to know what the next 12 months will hold from the point of view of your personal birth details based on your time, date and place of birth, and also a greater understanding of your personality, you can order a forecast and a character analysis by clicking the link beneath this video and also getting 30% off. But for now, it's been a real pleasure being with you. Good luck and goodbye.